Welcome to Ask and Learn.
Hello, welcome to this lesson. In this lesson, we've been asked to construct the truth table for compound statements. Okay. So the first one that we look at is P or P exclusively. So let's have a table for only P because the P is itself is exclusive. So true and false, because we are dealing with, so we're supposed to write it as true and false again, but that wouldn't be necessary because you're having the P that interacts with itself. Okay. So one thing about the all exclusive is that they cannot both be true. For example, Kofi is 12 years or 15 years. You see that this cannot be true at the same time. Okay. And if it's false at the same time, it's false. And it cannot be true at the same time. So that is false as well. So it means that that statement cannot be both true, and if it's false at the same time, it's false. Okay. So let's move to the next one. The next one B, that is P or the negation of P. Okay. So here too we have the P. We have the negation of the P. Okay, so we have true and false. The negation of the true is the false. Negation of the false is a true. Then we have P exclusively or P. Okay. So here the properties of the exclusive or is that if either of them is true, then it's true. So here is true and there is true as well. So either of them can be true. But if all of them are true, then it will be false. If all of them are false as well, it will be false. Okay. So let's go to the third one. That is P exclusively or negation of Q. Okay. So here let's have a P that is true and true, a false and a false. This time we are pairing it with another statement, so we should get all of them so that we can pair as much as possible. So this is a true, a false, a true, and a false. So the negation of the second statement is a false, a true, a false, and a true. Okay. And now we are looking at the exclusively, the all exclusive or for the negation for the P and the negation of P. So here we look at this and that, okay? Or we look at this and that. The first column and the third column. So that is true because one of them, at least one of them is true. One of them is true. The second point, that is a true and a true, so this is false because all of them cannot be true. All of them cannot have the same value. A false and a false, so it's false. A false and a true, one of them is true, so that is true as well. Okay, so let's go to the next one. The next one is D, and that is the negation of P, then the negation of Q. Okay, so here we have the P over there, then we have the Q. Let's have the negation of the P. Let's have the negation of the Q. Okay, and let's have the negation of the P or the negation of the Q exclusively. So here let's have true, true, false, false, and let's pair it with true, false, true, false. Okay, so the negation of the P would be false, false, true, true. You're looking at the negative of a false over there. Okay, so negation for that. All right, so let's also look at negation of this Q, negation of all this column. Okay, so that is a false, true, a false, and true. And here we are looking at the negation of the P, negation of the Q, negation of P or negation of the Q exclusively. So here is false, that is true, that is true, and that is false. Okay, so the exclusive or becomes true only when one of them is true and not all of them. One of them should be false and the other should be true for the exclusive or to be true. Okay, and it's false otherwise. All right, so let's look at the E part, that is P and Q exclusively, a P or Q exclusively, and P or the negation of Q. Right, so here let's have, we know we have P, we have Q. Okay, then here we'll be having a negation of Q. Okay, then you have P or Q. So true, false, and a false. You have true, false, so that it pairs. Then the negation of the Q all becomes this becomes a false, it's a true, a false, and that is a true. So P or Q exclusively, this becomes a false, that becomes a true, and a false. Okay. So here we paired this and that, this or that, looking at them not having the same value, all right, the same truth value. Okay, so the next thing we will look at is P or the negation of Q. So we look at this or that exclusively. So we have true and false, so that is true. You have true and true, that is false. You have false and false, that is false. You have false and true, that is true. Okay, so now we are looking at the and. The and is like that it is only true when both are true, when both of the arguments are true. So now we have this as that, and we have this as that. Okay, so we are looking at the we are looking at this column and that column. All right. Okay. So let's go on. Now we have a true, we have a false and a true. Okay, this will be, you have a false and a true. So a false and a true, that is a false. Okay. So okay, so this is the, that is the or, okay, or the disjuncture. So you have a false or true, and that is true. You have a true and a false, that is true. Okay, we have a true and a false, that is true. We have a false and a true, and that is true. So you can take part in the seminar if you're a mathematics student or an English student. So somebody who comes from the English part is qualified, and somebody who comes from the mathematics part is equally qualified. And the person who comes from both is qualified as well. Okay. So that is the table for the E. Okay, let's go to the last one, that is the F. The last one is P exclusively Q, and so this is the conjunction. Okay, conjunction, and that means that both should be true for it to be true. If one of them is false, it would be false. Okay. All right. So we need the P. We will need a Q. We will need a negation of the Q. We need P or Q exclusively. We will need P or the negation of Q exclusively. And finally, we will need P or Q and P or the negation of Q. Okay. So this is what we will need. All right. So we have the true, false, and false, and we're pairing it with true, false, false. The negation of true, false is false, true, and P or Q exclusively is false for true, and it's true for true, false. It's also true for false, true, and it's false for false. Okay. So the logic is also true for true, false, and it is false for true. It is equally false for false, and it is true for false, true. Okay. So here, when we come here, we have the end. So we are looking at this and that. We are looking at this and that. Okay. So false and a true will give us a false because we are looking at and, which for this column and that column should be true before the the conjunction would be true. Okay, so that is equally false. This is false, and that is false. Okay, so since there are no true that is paired, it would be false for all of them. All right, thanks for your time. The end of the lesson.